shoulders. It's the quid pro quo of life. We exist temporarily through what we take, but we live forever through what we give.
Thank you so much, Ms. Pierson. Very, very powerful. And Vernon lived from August 15th, 1935 to March 1st, 2021. We're just going to get into our icebreaker. This is your story. This presentation was put together by some really, really awesome people that I admire. I admire these people, Dr. Asif, Dr. Handfield, Ms. Regina Pearson, and Professor Alexandre. I admire them greatly because these people have always gone above and beyond in service, always demonstrated humility, kindness, and leadership. And because of them, we are here today in service of you. So I would like us to take 3 minutes, and I'm going to put the timer on. We're going to have just 3 minutes. Here we go, 3 minutes for our icebreaker. So we have to move quickly. I'm about to hit start. I'd like for you to put in your chats, whose shoulders are you standing on? And who is standing on your shoulders? All right, let's go. Whose shoulders are you standing on? And who is standing on your shoulders? So let me put my response. Let me see whose shoulders. Yes, Jesus and my family, parents and mentors. Who's standing on my shoulders? That's an easy one for me, Leah. That's my 3-year-old. Yes, daughter, parents, younger sibling, God, children, standing on the shoulders of my parents. So we have a lot of in common, yes. Professors, kids, God, family, community, yes. Parents and grandparents. I see we have a lot in common. And Allah, my kids, yes. Family. Wow, powerful, very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. Who's standing on your shoulders? Right, so we're talking about wealth today, and we're connecting pieces. Children, family, friends. God and family. Good. Good. Anybody else wanted an opportunity? So with that in mind, my kids, I'm not sure my kids, right? So when we talk about standing on somebody's shoulders, just somebody who helped encourage us to live our dreams, to achieve our goals, right? And if you're encouraging yourself, oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dorothy. Okay. Now let's get into the heart of our presentation, shall we? That was just to get us thinking about living and leaving our legacies. Okay, so we are just going to wave. All of the panelists are just going to show their hands. I am your hostess for today. My name is Tonya Lloyd. I'm representing the Robinson Lloyd Resiliency Group. We have on our call Dr. Handfield. We have Dr. Asif. We have Professor Alexandre. And we also have Ms. Pierson. Okay, so each panelist would be would be introducing themselves when we get to their presentation. We are having our question and answers at the end, so please write your questions down, right? We would love to spend about 45 minutes with you answering your questions. Okay, I'm a licensed professional in the USA. I'm also a Caribbean clinical psychologist, and I've committed about 15 years to the mental health field. I've worked on several projects, particularly the prison project that was a combination of the University of the West Indies as well as University of Swansea. We wanted to help prisoners, we wanted to reduce recidivism rates, right? So we focused on how to teach prisoners anger management skills. Our company is hyper-focused on empowering students with proven solutions in social, emotional, academic, as well as mental health solutions. We wanted to really create a barrier-free access to mental health services. My husband's company provides the academic services for our team. We're just going to share a 2-minute, 31-second video that shares about our resilient stars. Okay, thank you so much. We offer data-driven program solutions where we complete a Resilient Stars report looking at the self-esteem, the grit, anxiety, and depression, as well as the mathematics performance of our students. Our students report feeling happier and more determined to succeed. Parents gain insights to support their children. We have no barriers to access, and schools could justify their spending on our services because they gain insight on their student population as well. Now, of course, how do we, place children when we think about mental health and mental wealth? Our children represent our futures, right? And so we're doing everything that we can to ensure that they have the empowerment to not wait until they're 25 to learn these skills, but to learn these skills today, to learn how to cope with anything, to feel powerful and strong about their abilities to cope with any adversity. Why are we having this conversation? Actually, Dorothy and I were chatting about our own workshops. I'm saying Dorothy with Dr. Handfield. And Dr. Handfield said to me, you know, there's a new word, there's a new buzz, intersections. I said, intersections, you know, tell me more. What is that? And Dorothy shared, well, it's being able to connect, you know, what we all have in common. So all of us, we're all dealing with, we're all in the middle, right? We're all human beings, right? We are learning more about finances, we're learning more about mental health, and how do these two areas intersect? And that's why we have an economist, we have a tax expert, we have a behavioral sciences expert, we have a counselor on our team to share the intersections of our fields and to help us change our mindsets or improve our mindsets to achieving mental health as well as mental wealth. When a flower doesn't bloom, you fix the environment in which it grows, not the flower. I'd now like to ask Dr. Hanfield to introduce herself and her presentation.
Good afternoon. Thank you. I like that phrase. I like that. My name is Dr. Dorothy C Hanfield. I am a board certified behavior analyst, BCBA. I have 24 years of experience as an educator. 14 of those years I served as a principal. I led schools that had general education and special needs students. I earned my doctorate at the University of Southern California, and I presented at Rutgers, Union County College, and other places. Just to give you a little information about myself. Next slide, please. I know you're probably thinking, what is a BCBA? What does that mean? Some people call us behavior analysts or behavior therapists. We basically use ABA, applied behavior analysis, to work with anyone. It's not something just with children. Anyone can use it, and you probably use it in your own lives. You just don't have a term for it. It's where you change the environment in order to change the behavior, and you want a more socially significant behavior, behaviors that are accepted by your community and where you live. You want to decrease a problem behavior in exchange to learning how to implement a more desired behavior. And again, you can use this with anyone. And how does ABA connect with mental wealth? Well, ABA, you look at the people within your environment. These are the people, when you be with different people, your behavior may change. If you with one set of people, your behavior may be one way, and you work with around another set of people, your behavior may be something different. Relating that to money or mental wealth. When I was a kid, my parents were, they still are, savers. They were very big on saving money. They did not like credit cards. Like if we had one credit card, it stayed in this one spot until it was time to take it out. They did not carry it around with them. The credit card was used in case of a big, huge emergency. That's the only time my parents, and they're still like that now. They don't use the credit cards regularly and take it around with them, because the mindset was, if I can't pay for it, I'm not going to get it. That's it. I don't use credit cards like that. And that was me growing up until I went to college. And I started hanging around my friends. And my friends and I, we were on campus. All the credit card companies, the banks were there, and they were giving away credit cards. And we thought it was fun. Oh, let's sign up for a credit card. And I remember going to the table, and the banker, the woman was there, and we told the woman, my girlfriend and I, we're still friends to this day. We don't have jobs. We're full-time students. We have jobs here on campus, but that's it. She said, don't worry about it. Just sign up for the credit card. So as a result, I had an American Express card, MasterCard, a Visa card, a Discover card, not 4 different credit cards, not one full-time job. And when I started using the credit card here and there, and the bills started coming in. That was my environment changing. I went from you don't use a credit card at all environment, the people around me, to we using a credit card for everything when I was in college. So that was my mindset, my behavior changing because of the people I was around in my environment. Next slide, please. Your setting can also be a part of your environment. Your setting can set the tone for your behavior. When do you know the holidays are coming? Not because you look at the calendar, it's because all those commercials that come on. That's your setting changing. All these commercials letting you know it's time to spend money. It's time to go to the mall. It's time to go buy these extravagant dinners where your family come over. We just had Valentine's Day, which is a huge commercial holiday. Why? And it tells you, oh, I need to go out and buy candy, flowers, go out and spend, I need to spend money, period. That's your setting the tone for you to spend money. It's done intentionally by different industries to let you know it's time to spend money, because now it's not no holidays. You're not really thinking about going to the malls and spending money like that. Only when those settings change, that's when your mindset change, your behavior change, really your behavior change to go spend money. So next slide, please. With regard to applied behavior analysis, we have something called the ABCs of behavior, antecedent, behavior, consequences. Basically, the antecedents are what happens in your environment prior to the behavior. And then the consequences, what happens in your environment after the behavior. And the ABCs will tell you what are the targets that causes the behavior. What are the different functions of that behavior? And without getting, you don't have to get too technical, but just thinking to yourself, and I, again, use myself as an example. When I had the behavior of using my credit cards nonstop, the antecedents for me were the fact that I knew I used my credit card a lot, and I was spending, and I was getting the consequence was I was getting these bills. And I was putting myself in a tremendous amount of debt, and I didn't have a full-time job. And I had to think to myself, what was going on that led up to the behavior of spending on my credit card? One thing was I was going to the mall every weekend. I was in the mall, and I felt like I couldn't leave the mall without buying something. That was the behavior. That was the antecedents, just being in the mall for me. At that time, that was something that happened right before the problem behavior. I was in the mall. The problem behavior was I started buying a whole lot of stuff. The consequence was I ended up with debt. Another antecedent that I had to figure out for myself was I carried my credit card along with me all the time. I knew I had my credit card. I knew I had money. So then I spent. And then I had the debt. Another strategy I had to learn along with the ABCs was I had to realize to myself, was I buying things because it was a need or want? In my head, I thought I needed everything. As I got older, I realized I had to think and look at things. Okay, is this a need or a want? If it's a want, I'm not buying it. Then my behavior started to change, because then I was thinking like, oh no, I don't have to buy that. I can put it back. And then I started decreasing my consequences. I stopped signing up for credit cards. That was an antecedent. I had to stop signing up for credit cards. To this day, I shred anything that comes through the mail asking me to sign up for a credit card. Why? Because I know the behavior, that bad behavior will come back and I'm back in debt again. So if you can go to the next slide, please. Again, think about yourself. If you have a behavior, a negative behavior that you do not like with regards to money, it's easy, and sometimes it's easier to do the negative than the positives. Think of a behavior. Mine was impulsive spending. After seeing an item, I quickly spend money to purchase a specific item within 5-minute time period without thinking whether the item is a want or a need. That was a behavior I know I need to work on. I had to look at what was going on before that behavior. I was up watching late night television. And this is some people now web searching, you on the web and you see stuff popping up and you're like, oh, I need to buy that. I need to get that. And then what happens? Your consequence, you're overdrawn in my bank account. I increase the amount of debt on my credit card. If you think ABCs, and I know sometimes you think, well, it's just money. No, it's not behavior-based. It is behavior-based, how you spend your money. What happens before and after. And it's a simple chart like I drew here. And just think, what is it that I need to change? What behavior I need to change? What happens before, what happens afterwards? And how can I change that, my behavior based on the environment that I am in? And it's, again, this was the examples that I use with the credit card, but you can think about other things that lead up to some behaviors that you really don't like and need, but you need to change by simply changing your environment. The people you spend time, it's not that I don't hang around these people, but I have to think, so-and-so spends their money differently than I do. So-and-so, maybe I need to stop being in environments and settings that leads to my spending unnecessarily. ABCs, remember that. Thank you. Oh, and if you correct your mind, the rest of your life will fall in place.
Thank you so much, Dr. Handfield. A lot for us to think about in terms of our behaviors, our antecedents, and our consequences. Really, really appreciate it. I am going to stop sharing on my end so that Dr. Asif could now start her presentation. Dr. Asif.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ishrat Asif, and I'm an associate licensed counselor, and I work in C-Line Community Outreach Services, and I am privileged to work with Ms. Tanya as well in school, University High Charter School. And there I help students to learn skills to make them more self-aware and then aware about others as well, so they can better adjust in their environment. I did my PhD from India, and when I came to US, I did my master's in mental health counseling from New Jersey City University. Okay. So I'm going to talk about mental illness, mental health, and the relationship of mental health and money management. So according to Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, Volume 5, a mental disorder is a syndrome characterized by clinically significant disturbance in individuals' cognition, emotion, regulation, and behavior that reflect a dysfunction in psychological, biological, and behavioral functioning. So mental illness is not like a very different thing. It's if everybody sometime have that symptom, but it's about degree. If the degree is too much, that people cannot function in a productive way, then it becomes mental disorder. I would also like to mention about mental health. What is mental health? So mental health is a state of individual well-being where we understand our capability and become more functional and more productive for the society. So everybody has mental health issues, but most of the time we just ignore it. We don't pay attention. People are depressed, people are anxious, people have this type of problem, but people just don't recognize most of the time, and then they don't seek help. So that's why like our job is to promote this type of mindset in the society so people can reach for help. I'm from India, so I also want to share with you some of the information about Indian culture and mental health, how we as an Indian perceive mental health. So it's not a good, I have not a good information about our perspective of mental health because most of the time we don't acknowledge. We don't acknowledge, even in educated families, people don't want to discuss about mental issues. And they just don't, they just want to ignore it. But the survey says that the statistics is very high for mental health issues in India because also because of the budget as well. We don't have enough budget to help people. And the Lancet Medical Journal published in December 2019, according to that, we have only 0.29 psychiatrists for every 100,000 people. So the situation is not good. But yeah, the government is working on it, and then people are trying to increase people's awareness about mental health issues, and also there are NGOs, and they're trying to help increase awareness in the society. Even in US, sometimes I see people are depressed, but they don't want to take medication because they're so scared of taking medication. So we as a mental health professional, our job is to make them aware that sometimes medication is important because the behavior is caused by chemical imbalance in their brain. So only medication can help them, and then therapy would work. So why I would like to include in my discussion about the finance, because finance is the most important thing in our life. And when we have mental health issues, the most important thing after relationship we lose is our finance. So being a substance abuse counselor as well, I'm a mental health counselor, but I also work in C-Line where I help people with substance abuse. So I see how much people suffering financially due to their addiction. People need money to buy their choice of drugs. So when I sit with the client, I always bring up the money management. How much you spend each day on your substance. And then I give them a paper and I ask them, okay, write it down. How much a day, and then how much in week, and then how much in a month you're spending on your drugs. And then people realize that, oh my God, I'm spending too much money, just wasting my money on it. I also make them aware that this is a big business of influential people, and they are trying to rob your race. They don't want you to live in this country. That's why these all things are going on. So being a mental health counselor, my job is also to advocate and make people aware of their rights. And everybody has equal right to live, but this is a business. And you are helping those people who don't want you to live. So when I make them aware of all these things, they started realizing, oh my God, okay, I'll do something else to make me happy and I'll not use this drug. So along with my other tools, this is also one of the very important tools I use as a money management. Also for mental health issues, when people have bipolar disease, bipolar disorder in manic stage, they feel shopping spree. They do impulsive shopping. So just to make them aware that, okay, this is your depression stage, but when you will recover from this stage and you will enter in your manic stage, you are going to do like impulsive shopping. How are you going to control? How are you going to control your impulse? So I make them learn skills like deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, and then I help them, just as Dr. Handfield shared with us about the credit card, and that's also very important. I tell them, don't use credit card. Always take cash with you, and also make a plan. Make your priorities. What is important for you? And I also have them to understand the difference between need and want, as Dr. Handfield shared just a few minutes ago. So those are the skills help people to understand their mental state, and then how they are going to utilize a skill to control their impulse. Also in gambling disorder, people gamble and then most of the time they lose money. It's an impulse, like they just keeps on losing money just to think that, okay, I'll get some. This time I lost, but next time I'll try again. I'll try again until they lose everything. So being a mental health counselor, I help educate people, like, this is your disorder, this is your problem, this disease you're suffering from. You have to accept it, and then you have to use tool how you can stop spending money uselessly, like mindlessly, impulsive and compulsive, both type of buying. I help them to understand that. That's it for from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Asif. All right, so we are connecting the pieces with just understanding how to be more mindful about our spending, and starting with acceptance of what is going on, and being able to know that that's accepting something doesn't mean that we just give up, right? We have the tools available to be able to do something about it. Thank you so much, Dr. Asif. And now I'm going to ask Professor Alexandre to share his presentation. Prof, would you like me to share it, or would you like to share it yourself?
Could you share it with me, please?
Sure.
Could you share it for me, please? Okay.
Yes. So, here we go. So, Prof, just tell us a bit about yourself.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation, and thank you for the previous presentation, Dr. Hanfield. She did a fantastic job talking about how when you change the environment, how it can have an effect on your behavior. Thank you, Dr. Asif, for talking about the clinical part of it, which is very important, where we need that intervention. So I am Jean-Wilner Alexandre. I got a French name. And currently I'm doing my dissertation in finance. I'm teaching as well at Essex County College full-time, and I teach part-time at Montreal State University. And during the summer, I teach in South America at the Adventist University of Columbia. I consider myself as a financial literacy advocate, activist, because I believe that it's very important. I would say this is the most important skill somebody needs, is how to manage their finances. Very, very important. I even joke in class that they make English 101 a requirement, but I think they should make financial literacy a requirement, because if you don't speak English or you don't write English, but you're still gonna have to pay your bills. So it has to be a requirement as well. But English is good. It's good if you write well, and I'm always hoping that I can speak as well as Tanya. She trained me in speaking. So speaking is very well. Now, in my time studying economics, and I'm very old, there wasn't any behavioral economics. It's such a great, it was great to listen to the two previous specialists talking. And I've been learning behavioral economics for the past 5 years only. In my time, we were predicting behavior using math. So we were saying that we assume everybody is rational. That was our assumption. So recently, for the past 10, 15 years, they came up with behavioral economics where they are addressing behavior, and they are looking at where is the source of this behavior that you have? Where is it coming from? And this is where behavioral economics come in. And what they say is, they said your behavior depends on your mindset. So the whole rationale behind the behavioral economics, the whole assumption is your behavior depends on your mindset. There's somebody has a feedback. And you can switch to the next slide for me, please. Now, this is a slide that I'm always looking at. I'm very passionate about, no matter when I have to talk about financial literacy, I always have to put the context into it. And what is the context I'm gonna put in there? Let's look at what's happening or what have been happening in this country in the past 40 years. Let's look at on 1983. 1983, what was the gap between the average races in the United States? Let's say, you see, if you want to round the average wealth of the white family, and you're looking at the average wealth of the Black and Hispanic family, so you would say, you know, the average Black and Hispanic family, they had $100,000 in wealth, where the white family would have 400,000. So you have a difference of 300,000, which is, we would say that's okay, right? That's okay at that time, 300. So, but what did we count in the end? They only count two things: their investments and the equity on their house. Investment and equity on their house. So now, where are we right now, approximately? Now, the last data is 2016, but with COVID, they think it's much worse. If you're looking at the average wealth for the white family would be $900,000. And the average wealth for the Hispanic and Black family would be 200,000. So that would make a difference of 700,000. So in less than 40 years, we passed from 300,000 to 700,000. That's exactly what the discussion is right now in the economic and finance field. Where are we going with that? It's a mindset. And what is the mindset? What is in there in that wealth? We said house. In some family, what's the conversation? Like Dr. Handfield said, and I was loving it when she was talking about that, because that's something that we are discussing a lot in economics, and I discuss a lot in class and any opportunity that I have. Your network is extremely important. And why? It's not because of the help you're gonna get, it's the conversation that you're having in that network. And I like to say to the students, what do we say in economics? We are saying, not now you are in college, you are between 18 and 22. In my class, I said, okay, they are talking about traditional and non-traditional students, meaning people who are 50, 60. Yeah, I always say, you know what, everybody has between 18 and 22, it's okay. Now, we all gonna discuss it that way. And what do we mean? The conversation going on in your network. And what should it be? If you're not talking about where you're gonna get your house, when you're gonna get married, who you're gonna get married. So where your school, how many children you wanna have, where you're gonna get to school, where your children gonna go to school, you need another network. Because your network gonna determine your behavior. And I said I was listening with passion when I was listening to Dr. Hanfield talking about that, the behavior that was happening in her house where you should not touch credit card. Then when you go to college, you get another group that you're hanging out with, another type of exposure that you have. That will determine your behavior. And that's what behavioral economics is studying right now. So what caused this gap? In a lot of these families, what do they say to the children? You go to school, you finish school. Next, after you finish school, what is the next thing you got to do? And while you are in school, you start investing. You start investing in the market. There is something called Roth IRA. You see that most of the people in this family, they do have a Roth IRA. But how many of us in the Black and Latino community even know what is a Roth IRA is? Which is, that would be the investment in the financial market part. We don't know. So again, it's a mindset. When you are repeating it all the time, and that's what the behavior will be. What do you think the other students, those who are having the work doing, they are in school, they start investing, that's the mindset. Then once they finish, they get married, or if they choose to stay single, they stay single. But the next step gonna be, if they stay single, then they're not gonna rent an apartment for the rest of their life. Even though in economics, we would rather people get married. But the trend now, people don't want to get married. The idea is two people better than one. If you can live together, two people will bring a better economic result than one. Now, the trend is not that people saying they don't have to get married, fine. But in these groups, still have the mindset of building wealth. What do? They are buying their apartments. They don't rent that apartment. They're gonna buy it where they live. So you got to buy where they live. Stop the mindset, because what we're gonna count in your wealth is what? How much equity you have in your apartment or in your house. So then, because they got a good education also, they got a good job, that gives them what? A 401k or 403b. And what happened 20 years here in this job, 25 years, they got $200,000-$300,000 in that 403b. So when you add that to the equity on their house, and then you see their average wealth is what? 600, 700, and they start very early. So it is the mindset. In order to close this gap, the mindset must change first. The behavior must change first. The group that you are with, the group that you are hanging out with, it has to change as well. Would you please change the slides for me? So when we were discussing that, I remember the members, they were so talking about generational wealth, and we believe in that as well. Another thing that always surprises us when we are talking to certain group in the community, where they are saying, no, I already give my child education. I don't have to give them anything. I don't have to leave them anything. No, it's not right. And why do we say it's not right? Starting from zero or starting from $100,000 is not the same. Thank you, mom. Thank you, dad. You give me that education. But if you give me that $100,000 to start, or to put on a house to start, it helps a lot. So one of the things that we find in behavioral economics is the way rich people think and the way most poor person think. The rich people plan for 2-3 generations. What do you realize they do? They plan for their children. They plan for their grandchildren. And if they are still alive, they plan for their great-grandchildren. There is something called 529, right? Which is the college savings account. In the United States, one thing I realized, a disclaimer, I'm a financial advisor. I didn't put this one here because the requirement when you talk about investments, I would have to record this and send it to the firm so that they analyze what I say. So I don't want to go through that process. I didn't mention, and I don't put that I'm a financial advisor at all in there. But I'm just mentioning the 529 for a reason, because one thing I realized, most of my clients who have a 529, they tend to be grandparents, not the mother and the father. They tend to be grandparents. What do they mean? Why do they do that? They are planning for the next generation. As soon as the child is born, what do? They open a 529 for the child. Their grandparents are putting money in there. Right now, New Jersey just did something for 529. It wasn't happening. They just passed the law, and I believe that by next year it should be in effect. Where to encourage people to do 529 in New Jersey, they are giving them tax deduction. Meaning that if you live in New Jersey and then you have a grandchild or you have a child and you obtain a 529 for them, you can write it off in your taxes. And they're doing even a matching for you up to $750. So if you put $700, they would match it up to $750 for you. So for that, we are saying the mindset must change. It has to do the rich people that plan for 3 generations, and which we plan for Saturday night where we're gonna hang out. That's not good. And I only have 5 minutes left. We're gonna go to the next slide. What is the mindset you should have? One thing we realize, most people who make it in life, they focus only on 3 things. Only 3. What do we mean by that? We have tons of things to do in day. You should always ask yourself the same 3 questions for everything that you're doing, every action, and that's gonna give you the mindset. Number 1, how healthy is what I'm doing gonna make? Is it gonna make me healthy? Is it gonna make me wealthy? Is it gonna make me more educated? If you put all your action through these filters, they are saying, according to a lot of economists, they are saying your chance of failure in life is very, very limited. If you are very healthy, you're not gonna have to spend money in doctors and medications in all these conditions. If you focus on your education, you're a well-educated person, you're always gonna have opportunities in life. And look at something in most countries, what they do. Most countries, they tend to give you what? The 2, health and education, free. A lot of countries, health and education to be free. They are saying, I'm giving you this basic, build your wealth. Unfortunately, in the United States, they are not cheap, health and education. But if you still put all your action through these 3 filters, we almost guarantee you that you will see success in your life. Thanks very much for the opportunity.
Very powerful, Professor Alexandre. You know, as you were speaking, I kept saying to myself, yes, this is exactly why we're focusing on changing the mindsets of our children and helping them to focus on their networks, their connections, and recognizing the importance of planning, right? Not just financial planning, but just planning for life. You know, I have a friend told me just yesterday, you're not going to start planning for your child when she turns 25. You start now. Very, very powerful. Thank you so much. And now we have our final panelist, Ms. Regina Pearson. She's going to share with us how we could take advantage of tax season. All right, tax season is currently upon us. Ms. Pierson, please introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Regina Pearson. I have been in the business industry for a little over 25 years with a background in banking, finance, healthcare, and the last 11 years of my career have been in education. I am currently a tax partner with Tax Lady 2 of Union County. I was born, raised, and educated in the city of Newark, so go Newark. I earned my MBA from Berkeley College in 2017 in their inaugural class. I'm also the creator of a women's empowerment group called Selfie, which means self-empowerment lives faithfully in everyone. It has always been a passion of mine to help young people and also women to succeed and win in life. So one of the questions that were posed to me is, what percentage of my clients know how to gain the most from their taxes? I would say on an individual basis, about 2 to 5 people know the basics about taxes. And most of my established clients who are veterans in the business industry, they know a little bit more. But most people who come to me now come to me with what their friend told them, because they don't know themselves what they need to do. So I'm here to help you a little bit. Your tax season doesn't begin from January to December. Your tax season is all year round, and it begins when you first get your job. So the first job that you get, the most important form that they can give you is a W-4. Most people don't know how to fill out a W-4. It asks you about all of these questions about how much money do you take out? Do you have more than one job? Do you have any people who you want to claim? Do you have any dependents to claim? The greatest thing that I can tell you about a W-4 and when you first get a job is that you need them to be taking out at least 12 to 15% in federal taxes. This is a cushion that you can use so that if you happen to have a large salary, it'll cushion you your tax ramifications, and you'll have some money in the bank already to go towards paying off those taxes. So when tax season comes, you don't have to pay as much. Or if you have a job that keeps you within the constraints of your tax status, which would be single, head of household, married filing separately, or married filing together, you will be able to have a tax return come back to you. Most people want to keep all of their money in their pocket right now, and it hurts them during tax season. So the greatest thing that you can do is look at that W-4. Look at what salary they promised you for the year and make sure that they're taking out between 12 and 15% of your salary to go towards taxes. I have a wonderful opportunity where I'm working with some new entrepreneurs, some young people who are purchasing properties, who are starting new businesses. And so the thing that a lot of people like to think is, if the government doesn't know about it, it's free money for me. No, 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 no. The government knows about everything. They know about every cent that you collect from your earned income, and those are the jobs that you work. They know about every cent that goes in and out of your bank accounts. So don't ever think that you're fooling the IRS or the government. One of my most challenging and greatest experience I've had most recently was working with a gentleman who had acquired some property and he wanted to turn it into an Airbnb. He's a middle-aged guy and he has some children that are in college. So he said, Miss Regina, I need to get this Airbnb off the ground. What should I do? So the first thing you need to do is do a business formation. You need to get registered with your state so that you are legitimate. That's the first thing you need to do. Then you need to get you an EIN, which is your employment identification number through the IRS, and that's free. And you want to legitimize your name of your business, and also you want to give it a unique number so that the government will honor your business. So he purchased the Airbnb, we got his business formation, and we got all of his documents together. He said, okay, so do I have all of these people send this money directly to me? No, do not intermingle your personal finances with your business finances. That's a good big no-no. You're gonna take your EIN, you're gonna go to the bank, and you're going to create a business account. All monies from your Airbnb should be coming and going solely from your business account. You do not want to commingle, because if anything happens, you're going to have to try to disconnect what was personal and what was actually business. So he said, well, I want to create generational wealth for my family. I said, well, your children's first employer should be you. So how do we do that? Since your company is legitimate, you can hire your children to do jobs on your properties. So you have one that's a maintenance worker, They can clean up around your facilities. They can list that on their resume as a first job. We all know that when you come out of college or get in a first job, it's hard because you have no experience. So what you're going to do is you're going to hire all your children. You're going to give them tasks and a title, and you're going to pay them so that they have some money coming in as well. They'll be able to then save their money or do whatever they need to do while they're in college. I would admonish you to tell them to save it, then to spend it. And then therefore, once they get out of college, if they have any lingering expenses or anything, they have a nice little cushion, and they have their first entry on their resume to get a job. Not only that, you're teaching your children the Airbnb business of how to be young entrepreneurs and how to be business owners. One of the mistakes that we make in our community, and I can speak for me personally, is that we are so busy doing that we aren't teaching our children the stones that they need in order to build upon so that they can be successful young adults. Dr. Dorothy spoke about how when she was in college, the same for me. Every credit card in the world will sell you a pipe dream. You'll be able to do this, and they'll throw in a plastic little mug that cost them 25 cents, and you think you're doing something because, you know, you're young, you're in college, you got this credit card that has maybe a $2,000 credit limit on it, but the interest rate is 35.99%. And when you're young, that doesn't seem like a lot because you just know that you'll be able to purchase whatever you want under the radar of your family, of your parents rather, or your guardians. So you think you're doing something, but you know, you have to know the what to the why. I would tell you and educate everyone to read every little fine print that you can. And if you don't understand, it's okay to ask someone. Don't take the word of a friend, ask a professional. You can go to Dr. Asif if you're having some issues and you're not sure quite what you should do. Professor Alexandre is there to help you with your finances, to let you know, hey, don't do that. I would say do this first, and then when you're well able, maybe you can do that later. You know, Dr. Dorothy was very, very adamant about the credit card thing. I too was a victim of the college credit card scam, is what I like to call it, because we really aren't well-versed in what we need to do with money at that age in college. It's not a thing that generally happens. And I also agree that the people that you surround yourself with are the people who you will mimic, and you'll absorb that energy and those behaviors that they have. So if you have to change your environment because you're not a stand-up person, you should be the change in your environment to change the people around you and bring them to your way of thinking if you possibly can. I thank you so very much, Ms. Lloyd.
Thank you very much, Ms. Pierson. Thank you all so very much. Right, we call our group a mastermind group because, you know, everybody's been chipping in to benefit not just all of our guests here, but also to benefit our students in our schools. At this time, we'd like to open the floor to your questions, and we'd love to be able to facilitate. I'm going to go with the show of hands. I'm actually going to ask Ms. Scantling to unmute and ask your question. Let me see if I could unmute you. I see your hand is up. Samira? Oh, there she goes.
Okay, because it wouldn't let me unmute. Sorry. Hi. I have a question for Ms. Regina. I think that's her name. How do you separate, like if you, okay, say for instance, you have your business, you're running your business, but all of your expenses are from your business, personal and business. How do you separate that?
Okay, so the first thing that you should do is have a business account. You can have a business account with a business card, business checking, and everything that you do for your business, you should do with that one card or through that one account. And sometimes it takes a little bit of practice because sometimes we just grab the first thing we see in our pocketbook, which is generally our personal card. But you want to separate those things so that that business account is specifically for your business and you do every transaction through that bank account. So when you're filing your taxes, you're going to use something called the Schedule C, which will help you to itemize all of those things that are specific, those expenses and those credits that are specific to your business, as opposed to what you do personally.
Okay, so that I do get, but like when you're like, okay, so the income from the business also like pays your bills and all of that stuff too. So, because it's your business, that's your, you know, that's your way of living. Like you don't have an outside job. So
Okay.
how does that separate?
As long as you're doing everything through your business, there are, on the Schedule C, it allows you to itemize things. So you'll put what you have for advertisement. Most people now don't have a brick and mortar store. They run out of the place of where they live. So certain percentage of where you live, you can use that on your Schedule C. So for instance, if you have a cell phone bill and your cell phone bill is $300 per month, but you only use it 30% of the time. So that $90 that you have would be for your personal use, but the $210 would be for business use. And you can break it down by percentage, but you have to be 100% transparent with it. So that is the way that you would separate the two when you're using your Schedule C. However, if you like to have a conversation offline, I'd be happy to send you my information and you and I can speak more about it.
Okay, yes, please do. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to send you my information. Thank you, Ms. Scantley.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Ms. Pierson. What we're going to do, we're going to share your contact information. So you are going to get an email within the next week with everybody's contact information. So you could reach out to our panelists directly, and they'll also be able to reach out to you. We have another question from Brittany. Brittany, please unmute and ask your question. Brittany? Oh, yeah.
Sorry, it wouldn't let me unmute. That was really weird. Okay, and then it asked me to unmute. So hello, everyone. I just have a quick question. I think in recent years with Trump administration, he raised the standard deductions. Can you still itemize? Like, how does that correlate? Because I thought if you don't reach the standard deduction, you can't itemize on your tax return.
Ms. Brittany, are you a business or are you an individual?
Business.
Okay, you can itemize. You should itemize on your Schedule C for your business. You absolutely can and you should. It does regardless of how much money you've made, lost, or anything like that, because every year you're required, if you're a legitimate business and you're registered with your state, you have to provide a profit and loss.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We are hot in tax season. We have a lot of taxation questions. Anyone else would like to ask a question related to tax or related to any of our other presentations for today?
There are questions in the chat.
Okay.
You want me to read it?
Yes, please.
Okay. One question is, I'm gonna go back up. Roth, let me go back. What is your opinion about using whole life insurance for children? Children as an investment vehicle?
Will that question be for Professor Alexandre? Would you be able to take that question?
So I was hesitant to talk about any financial advisory because I don't have the proper authorization for that. And I would not use a whole life at all. And nobody should use a whole life at all, right? And we did a lot of economic study on it that shows whole life is only good for the insurance company and for the insurance broker who's selling it to you. right? The whole purpose of an insurance, right, is to protect those who will be affected by if something happened to you. Let's say you had children, you got a spouse, you are the main breadwinner, and something happened to you. Who's gonna pay for the mortgage? Who's gonna pay for all the bills? Now, when you do the math, right? If you do a very basic, unless you are a business owner with very high income, etc., so there are math to do on that. The average person doesn't need a whole life. Average person needs a very basic term insurance. You should take around your 25 or 30 years old. You take it for another 30 years, protect your family. On average, it's gonna cost you $1 million one. Now, since we have COVID, but before COVID, $1 million would cost you if you are 25 and healthy, you're 30 and healthy, it would cost you for the whole time of the 30 years would cost you maybe $20,000 or $25,000. Now, because people are so afraid, they're saying, oh, but what happened after these 30 years? I would lose my $25,000. Yes, you lose it. When was the last time they give you money back on your car insurance? You're gonna spend your whole life paying your car insurance, nobody's gonna give you money back. You're gonna spend your whole life paying property taxes, property insurance, nobody's gonna give you anything back. Now, where did we come from with that thing? Or if I don't die, I'm gonna lose my money. You lose your money for the property tax, you lose your money for the car tax, you lose the money if you don't die for the life insurance as well. But if you die, what happened? Your family would have $1 million. You are protecting against that loss. So whole life, and if you want to have that conversation more when you receive my information, I tend to be free more on Sunday. You can always call and we'll have a conversation on that and we'll do the math. It's not good for you as an average person. It's only good for the life insurance company and for the broker who's selling.
Thank you very much, Prof.
There's another question from Pierre in the chat. Do you think that Black people have the same opportunity with white regarding the graph of inequity? And that was for the professor.
No, you know what? This is what's happening. When I did my my fellowship at Princeton, right? When I finished my degree, this is what I have to explain that fellowship story most of the time. When you are in school, when you are finishing, you have to choose whatever specialization that you are doing. My specialization when I was in school was international trade. Then I wanted to know more about income inequality and poverty. I went to Princeton for 2 years to do a fellowship on income inequality and poverty. And so what do we look at? One of the discussions going on in this country, and this is unfortunate, where most people put everything on what? On discrimination. It is part of the variable. This is what we call the variable selections when you are doing research, right? So yes, discrimination is part of it. It would prevent you from advancing. So you need to buy a house in a better neighborhood, you're gonna face discrimination. And this is where you're gonna have much better appreciation from your house. But that should not deter you from buying a house anyway, right? You should keep fighting, but as you are fighting against discrimination, but you should still do the proper thing. Would you, for example, two people with the same talent, did we find that? Yes. Two people with exactly the same talent, a Caucasian would get much more pay. Two people with the same talent, the male would get much more pay, but regarding what the female is. So you're still gonna have this discrimination, not only on race, but on sex. Whether it's a female and a male, and I don't have the number in my head right now, but I believe that for every dollar that the man makes, the woman will make 75 or 80, right? So we still have that, but would that prevent you? And that's the problem that we are looking at. When we are saying, when we showed this in a lot of community, but everybody would say the same thing. They would say, but what about the discrimination? But we do find the discrimination, but is the third variable. If you have the talent, you would be a millionaire. if you make $10 million, so what do we call talent? Talent is the first one. Let's say, for example, a basketball player would make much more, right? Because he has the talent, but a white basketball player would make much more than the black basketball player. That discrimination exists, but it will still be a millionaire. So the problem people always saying is like, okay, yeah, but discrimination, but that should not prevent you from trying to open that account of investment account. That should not prevent you from buying that house. And that's what will close the gap. As you are fighting that inequality, but you should still do the right thing, which is invest, invest, and invest.
Agreed. Agreed. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We have a
Oh,
question. We have a
I would like to
question.
also say, Ms. Lloyd, to that end,
Okay.
what Professor Alexandre said, that knowledge and education is a way that we can close that gap. So we have to learn the same lessons that they've learned, the way that they've learned those lessons, and then apply them to our lives.
Sure.
So we can close the gap somewhere with knowledge and education by asking the right questions to the right person. He gave an excellent, excellent, explanation as to why we should even try by asking the right questions and weaponizing our knowledge and our education to those specific areas that benefit us the most.
Exactly. Excellent. Excellent. We had another question. At what age can we hire our children? I mean, I would like to say from as early as they could do anything, right? They could sweep. Leah likes to help me. She's 3 years old, right? So
Even at that young age, Mrs. Lloyd, for instance, you can let her know, if you pick up your shoes and put them where they are, you're going to get a quarter, right? So then she has her little piggy bank, right? And she starts saving her money. Saving her money. But I believe in the state of New Jersey, we can hire our children at the age of 16.
Okay.
But we can teach them young, we can give them a chore chart.
Yes.
And we can, give them incentives towards positive or great behavior at a very young age. So maybe by the time she's 16 and wants to buy her first car, she can crack open that piggy bank and everything.
I love it.
She can purchase her first car.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And I was going to say, Ms. Pierson is actually touching on Dr. Handfield's with the behavior chart. Go for it, Dr. Handfield.
I was going to say that's an excellent example of ABC with behavior analysis. There, what did you have to do to earn that? You had to work. I had to put something out there. A consequence was I got the money. But I put it out there. I need you to do this type of chore in the house. You did the chore, you get a consequence, that's the money. That is a great example of how that can play out in your home. It's not, again, you're not reinventing the wheel, and things you learn at home, again, that behavior you take out there with you. Not to say that I didn't listen to my parents, but it's a great example of how you can get that behavior instilled in your children before they leave the house, and respecting how to earn money, how money works. We have that conversation. That's a key conversation. How does money work?
Powerful. We have, I think, we have 2 more questions that I could see at this point. At what age can we get a Roth IRA for children? And then how can we follow all of you on social media? Good question. Good questions. Okay, so could we please put our social media first, in the chat? We're on Facebook. But the Roth IRA question, Prof, would you like to take that one? Okay.
Yes. First, I limit my interaction on social media because they are so hard on us, whether as a professor or as a financial advisor. It's so much regulation, words, and everything that I said, you know what, I'm not posting. I try not to post at all. Even though I am there, but I really not active.
Totally agree.
Anymore. But I used to be very active, right, Professor Lloyd?
Yes.
I was posting every single day, but there are a lot of restrictions on that. What we can say, what we should not say, etc., etc. So for that reason, I said, you know what, I just follow people, but I don't put anything. In terms of the Roth IRA, I do believe that you have to be 18, but the biggest requirement is not the age only, but is you must have a job. You must have a job. And one thing that I'm gonna add, Roth IRA, people always asking why they are pushing the Roth IRA like this. If you Google it right now where you are sitting, you will see that that's the biggest gift, that's the best gift that the American government can give somebody in the United States. It says to you literally when you get a Roth IRA, be a millionaire tax-free. What does that mean? It means that, number one, it is an after-tax account, meaning that you already paid taxes on it. So it's gonna grow tax-free, right? It's gonna go tax-free. So now, one thing people do with it is the fact that it's growing tax-free and the profit is going tax-free. You will be able to use it after you're 59. People said, okay, but until I'm 59, sure. However, the best part of it is, and that's why it's even better than any savings account, is the fact that your after-tax money can be used anytime after the first 5 years. Meaning that you put that money in there, it's growing tax-free until you get 59. But if you really get an emergency, can you go to it? Yes, you can, as long as the account is like 5 years old. But you already paid tax on that money, so you are taking on the part that you already paid taxes on. Therefore, you have access to your money as opposed to the account that you have at work, where you have to go and ask, can I borrow against it? You have to, it's a long process. As opposed to the Roth IRA, a lot of people, middle class people, are using it now as their savings account. Why? In order to finish, it's because Wells Fargo is giving you what, 0.01%. A mutual fund account is giving you what, approximately between 10 and 15%. Why would you put it at Wells Fargo getting 0.01% on $10,000? Probably you are getting like $20, $50, as opposed to you can get $1,000 on a good Roth IRA in tax free.
Wow. Thank you, Prof.
Can I
So
add
it
something to that?
it matters where we put it, of course. Of course, Ms. Pierson.
I would say that if you are doing your taxes and you stand to get back a sizable return, and you don't have any emergencies or fires to put out, invest that money into a Roth IRA. This year, I believe the max amount is $6,600. So even if you just started with your tax return, you have until December 31st to get it up to $6,600 just to get the ball rolling. We don't have to purchase a new car. We don't have to get a new television every year. We don't have to buy any new sneakers, especially if you're a young person. The more that you put into it later, the more that you'll get off. So you don't have to worry about living in poverty level and retire. Retirement is for enjoyment. So if you start now as a young person, investing in your Roth IRA, you'll have something later to enjoy.
Excellent. We do have a question. Oh, someone said all of you are super busy, but this needs to be a podcast. I think we'll take you guys up on that. I love it. Pierre is asking, I'm doing business with Robinhood and buy stocks. Do you think I should have a business account for it? Ms. Pierson?
No, you do not have, unless you're doing fine. Is that your business? Are you a day trader? If that's not your business, then that's something that you're doing personally for you. So you do not need a business account for that.
Okay.
You're doing it as an individual, not as a business.
Thank you so much, Ms. Pierson. And we have from Jennifer, if you put it into a Roth IRA, do you have access to that money, or do you end up do you have access to it if you have an emergency? Are there any penalties in withdrawing?
So Jennifer, thank you for that question. It's a great question, right? Because the Roth is an after-tax account, right? So meaning that the portion where you already paid taxes on it, you have access to it. You have access to it. But if you try to access the profit, right? You try to access the profit, yes, there would be the penalty and the taxes if you are not 59 if the account is not 5 years old. And then we can, Jennifer, we can discuss that anytime. I know you, and you know how to reach me. You can discuss that. I mean, that's a very important, that's a very good question. So people are always afraid of that, but it's an after-tax account, meaning that you put money, the money that you put in your Roth IRA tends to be an after-tax account. That's what makes it beautiful. That gives you access to it, but within certain little conditions. Not too bad as a conditions. And again, everything that I'm doing, I'm not authorized to talk about investment because I don't have the authorization. Everything we are doing is just for discussions, not investment advice.
Thank you, Prof. Okay, so I believe we got everyone's questions. We just want to bring everything together now. We just want to pull it all together. We see children as our future, right? We see starting young with helping them to have an empowerment mindset, to really believe in their abilities to take life on, right? No matter where we start, we know that we could have a bright future. And that's what we're doing here at the Robinson Lloyd Resiliency Group. We really want to see our young people excel, and we want to see generations prosper. And that starts with how we approach problems, how we approach situations, and the mindset that we have that I can do this. I believe I can do this. Right, and we looked also at behaviors, how behaviors can be shaped. Dr. Handfield did a really awesome job at connecting the environment, connecting the environment to our actions, and being able to think about those actions and realizing that we do have the power to change our environment. Dr. Asif really showed us how our mindsets can be improved by starting with acceptance. Right, starting with, you know what, I think I may be dealing with something that's a little bit more than anxiety or just everyday worry. It's starting to affect my work, it's starting to affect my relationships, right? And that's where discreetly, nobody has to know. You do not have to post it on social media that you're getting help for mental health challenges. It could be a very private thing that you go to a professional such as Dr. Asif to get assistance and see yourself improve and grow. And then we get into wealth can be grown from an economic discussion, a process where Professor Alexandre has been studying econ, I would say almost all his life. He's been searching for understanding these disparities. He wants to know, how can we close the gap? That is what Prof told me. I want to talk about closing the gap, and I believe it's a mindset change. Yes, we have discrimination. Yes, we have all types of odds, but we do have to believe that we still deserve a chance. We still deserve to try. And I thank Prof for that. And finally, we looked at the hot topic of the presentation, taxation. It doesn't start from January to April. It starts, it's a year-long process, the entire year. Right, and Ms. Pierson did an excellent job at sharing how we could take advantages of our tax. I want to thank everybody for coming out on a Sunday afternoon to share and be with us. I'd like to open the floor to any last words, but we want to thank you on behalf of the Robinson Lloyd Resiliency Group, Dr. Hanfield, Dr. Asif, Professor Alexandre, Ms. Pierson, and myself. A huge thank you to you and all of your families. Would anyone else like to say a few ending words? We are ending early. No? Yes. Thank you to everyone. Okay, well, I don't see any questions, any hands. So at this time, I'm going to thank you all. Thank you too. Thank you so much too. We're going to end the meeting. Please pay attention to your emails. You would receive an email from me with with the information about your panelists. And they are also going to have access to your mailing list. So they would be in touch with you as well. Okay, so from all of us, until next time, Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you too.